The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this amazing AutoCAD Tips and Tricks webinar. Before we jump into it, I wanted to go through some logistics. First of all lines of the attendees are muted, and you can send us your questions via the chat box. We will be answering them as we go or at the end and the Q&A session. This webinar is also recorded, so we can send you the recording later if you would like to have it. Now, even though our presenter today needs no introduction at all, we are very excited to say that we have today our world-renowned global technology evangelist and Cadalyst tipster, Lynn Allen. Lynn Allen is going to be presenting for you today AutoCAD tips and tricks. So Lynn, no more delay, take it away.
All right, I will do that. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. We had quite a response. I'm glad you guys were able to get in. And we're going to be talking all about some great AutoCAD tips and tricks today. And I love doing this kind of presentation because I'm not restricted to any specific release. I know that you guys are on all different AutoCAD releases, and this will, I'm going to cover the whole gamut. I'm going to be covering tips that go way back to the beginning of AutoCAD time, and I'll be covering also some more recent tips. I don't know that I have, well, maybe I've got like one tip from the latest release of AutoCAD, but they're going to be all over the map. So no matter what release of AutoCAD you're on, you should be able to see some tips in here that will be of value to you. And I also commend you for breaking away from the testimony that's going on right now with the Dr. Ford and Kavanaugh and joining us today, because I know it's kind of hard to break away. I was watching a little bit of that this morning, but this is going to help you be more productive, all right, in your everyday drawing life. And my goal, once again, is to show you some tips and techniques to help you be more productive. Now, you're going to know some of these tips. There's no way I'm going to spend the next, 40 minutes or so showing you all tips that you don't know any of them unless you've never touched AutoCAD. But if I can show you a handful of tips that help you be more productive in your everyday drawing life, that's going to be a good thing, right? And then it's your job. The hardest part is to use the tips that I show you and break out of that mold of doing everything the way you've always done it, because we are pros at that, aren't we? Always doing things the way we've always done them. So let's try to break out of that. All right, I'm going to get started. And I also love this presentation because I usually do this one called 60 AutoCAD tips in 60 minutes. And while you do get a lot of tips in a short period of time, you don't get some of the really, really good tips because I don't have enough time to go into the tips that require a little bit more time. So I'm going to really love doing this presentation. I think this is a really valuable presentation because I can spend more than a minute on each tip. I literally am just going to go through as many as I can in this time frame. All right, so layers. We use layers all the time. And we're switching layers all the time. We're turning layers on and off, changing our current layer. And in fact, anything that has to do with layers, that's the third most frequently activity inside of AutoCAD, believe it or not. And if you wanted to know what the most frequently used command in AutoCAD is, by the way, in case you're on AutoCAD trivia, it's undo. And the second is zooming and panning, just in case you want to quiz you. And layer, though, is number 3. And so let's be efficient with our layers. And you know what else is really boring? Switching layers and manipulating them, right? It's darn boring. So let's automate it as much as possible. So these first 4 tips really have to do with automating the commands and automating these layer changing in our lives. So let me just jump over to AutoCAD without further ado, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's start with this drawing over here. No, it doesn't really matter which one we start with. This looks a little more professional. We'll start with this one. All right, so first off, as I mentioned to you, I don't like switching, I don't like having to go do anything. I'm very lazy. If you've ever seen me do any tip, I'm the laziest AutoCAD user. I don't like having to do any extra steps in my life. And so our goal is to eliminate picks and clicks, and you'll be hearing that consistently today. And what I don't like to do is if I happen to be on another tab on the ribbon and I need to change my current layer or do anything with layers, I'm too lazy to go back to the home tab on the ribbon to do that. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to take the layer drop down list guy right here, and you're going to want to make sure that you have it on the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar is always on the screen, right? It's really easy for you to get to it. It's always there. You don't have to switch tabs to get to it. Now, if you happen to be inside of AutoCAD 2018 or higher, well, they actually finally, I think they've been listening to my tips forever, they allow you just to click on layer here, and it will add that layer drop down list directly to the quick access toolbar. All right. If you are not on AutoCAD 2018 or higher, no problem. It doesn't make any difference. You can do a right click and you can add it to the quick access toolbar directly from the ribbon. And just so you know, you can do that with any tool, right? You can grab any tool, do a right click, and add it to the quick access toolbar. So that if you have tools that you are using all the time, you don't want to have to keep switching from one tab on the ribbon to another, by all means, customize your quick access toolbar and put those tools up there. Same deal, man, get rid of those things that you're not using. If you are not, for example, saving, well, you're going to be saving, but if you're not opening from web and mobile, which I know a lot of you are not, those are new tools that were put in 2019, remove it, get rid of them, get rid of tools you're not using and replace them with tools that you are, all right? Okay, so it's all about being efficient. So what other layer options do we have? Okay, so you should be automating a bunch of other options as well. For example, you can set a default hatch layer so that every time you go into hatching, it will automatically switch your current layer to your default hatch layer. You don't have to do it yourself. I'm lazy. To do that, I'm just going to show you. Once you go into the hatch command, you'll see underneath properties, it's hidden. There's an option. I'm just going to just hover over this. There's a hatch layer override. It overrides the current layer with whatever layer you select here. So I'm sure you have a hatch layer. You would just, select it from your list, and from that point forward, like right there, there's hatch. I could make that my current layer for all of my hatching, but we'll do it just to make you happy, all right? So now as soon as I go into hatching, no thought required, all my hatch patterns are going to go on that layer, which makes me really, really happy. What else have I got? Same is true with dimensioning. You have a default dimensioning layer too. If I go to annotate, you will see on here that there is a dimension layer as well. Overrides the current layer with this layer specified for dimensions, all right? You should have that set up as well. So you don't have to be switching back and forth, flipping your layers back and forth when you go into dimensions. Let's automate it. Now, recently they added an Xref one in. It's not found on the ribbon. That would be too consistent. You have to know it. It's top secret. That's why you're joining me here today. There's an Xref Layer command where you can go in and you can tell AutoCAD what layer you want your attached Xrefs to land on. So that's another option for you as well. I'm sure eventually that will make its way to the ribbon, maybe it's hiding somewhere that I don't know about, but there is an Xref Layer command. Easy for you to put in script files as well. All right, so just kind of heading back over to my PowerPoint, you will see on here, these are all the things that I talked about. Okay, all right. What else? I have a whole bunch of layer tips. These are a bunch of layer tips that I love. My favorite one at the bottom there, we'll get through all of those. So layer translator. This has been in AutoCAD for a long time. It's kind of top secret. If you've ever been in a situation where you need to, you have a set of layers in your drawing files and you need to switch to a different standard. Somebody's changed the layers on you, or you're working with a different company and you already have a set of layers in your existing drawings and you need to change the names or you need to change the properties of them. Don't go in and manually change them unless you get paid by the hour. Then go ahead. Actually, I would just go ahead and still use this tool and just tell them it took a lot longer because it would be so boring to have to do it manually, let me just say. So we're going to take a look at lay trans, all right? Hopefully you've already discovered lay trans, but what if you haven't? I'm going to go to this terribly sophisticated drawing. I use this drawing all the time. It's totally not a cool drawing, but it works. That's why I like it. So lay trans, and it's definitely in the ribbon. I'm just going to be lazy. Okay, don't be like me, be better than me. I type everything in. So lay trans. So the goal behind this is you're going to translate the layers in the existing drawing to a different set of layers. You have to have a drawing that has the correct set of layers in them. I will tell you that. And here, these are the layers in this drawing right here. Now what you have to do is you have to load the drawing that has the right set of layers. So I'm just going to randomly just pick something. I don't know what it is. Just pick one. There you go. And now the goal here is that and it's the first time you do this, it's going to take some time. This works really well if you have a lot of layers, a lot of drawings that you have to convert. But literally you would go, okay, the border layer in this drawing needs to be matched up with, I don't know, we'll say the title block layer in this drawing, and then you do a map. And when you do that, it will show you what's going to happen to the existing border layer. You'll see that it automatically is going to be changing colors and maybe changing line types. And then this layer here needs to be mapped to, I'm totally making stuff up, to that layer there. You map it. This layer here needs to be mapped to that layer. Of course, you're going to do things that make sense. And it tells you the result of what's going to happen. Now, when you get all of this done, and there's also a map same option, by the way, so you can knock out all the ones that have the same names. That will save some time. You're going to go ahead and click on map, and then magic will happen, right? And then all of those layers are going to come together. The names will be changed, the properties will be changed, and your drawing will be updated. Now that seems pretty laborious and pretty tedious, and I will tell you that it is the first time you have to do it. But the goal here is that you are going to click on this save option right here, and you're going to save that layer mapping. And when you click on save, you'll see that it wants to save a file that has an extension of DWS. All right, you're going to pick a directory where you can find it, which is not here, by the way. You'll never find it here. Good luck finding it there. Pick a directory where you stand a chance of finding it. And it's going to be an extension of DWS. And then the next time you come into the layer translator on a totally different drawing, you are not going to load a DWG file. You are going to load that DWS file, and it will automatically map all those layers together. It'll go boom, 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 really, really fast. You don't have to do that boring, tedious process that I just showed you. It's going to take a millisecond to map those together, and then you're going to go ahead and say translate, and the world is going to be a beautiful place. All right? Translate, the world's a beautiful place. Very, very simple. All right? Let me go ahead and cancel that. We're not going to really translate anything. All right. So that is lay trans. What else have we got? Now, I'm sure that many of you are familiar with lay walk. Every once in a while, I'll find someone that's not familiar with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and show that to you. It's great when you need to see what's on individual layers. Don't go in the layer dialog box. Click on this little tool that's got feet. That means, you know, it's easy to recognize lay walk. They did a good job with that icon. You can literally go through all the different layers and see what's on each of the layers. In reverse, you also have the ability to go into lay walk, and you can select objects, and it will show you what layers are affected, which layers those objects happen to be on. It's kind of the opposite of that, just so you know. Okay, another option for you. Things for you to think about. All right, so that's lay walk. Let's take a look at lay merge. I like lay merge as well. Lay merge is used when you have more than one layer that you want to merge onto an existing layer. You want to take the objects from one layer and put them on another layer, and you want to get rid of that layer. That's a key piece of information there. Okay, key piece of information. You want to delete the other layers because it's not clear by the command exactly what's happening. So I have 3 plant layers, right? And in fact, let me just make another layer current because it's not going to like it when I try to merge this layer and this layer onto this one, if one of them is the current layer. All right, so I'm going to click on those 2 layers. I'm going to merge these 2 layers onto this one plants layer. I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to select merge selected layers to. And incidentally, there's a command called lay merge if you just want to go to that command directly. That's another option for you. It's much more visual in the layer dialog box, so I prefer that. But anyway, all right, so I want to merge those 2 layers onto the plants layer. Bad shot, too much caffeine this morning. I'm going to say okay. The selected layers will be merged into layer plants. It sounds so friendly, right? It's just going to merge them. Do you want to continue? Yes. It really should say, do you want to get rid of those other 2 layers, abolish them from your life forever until you die? Basically, because look at, they're gone. They'd be gone. Okay. Merging sounds merging like merging onto the freeway. It's a friendly thing. It doesn't say anything about deleting those layers, right? So what you can see on here, 2 layers deleted. All right. Can you undo it? Of course you can, but you need to be paying attention to what's going on, just so you know. So that's lay merge. Really comes in handy when you want to take objects from one layer, put them on a different layer, and get rid of the layers that the objects were previously on. All right, how about copy to layer? We often want to copy objects. We want to make a copy of an object, and we also want to change the layer that the object is on. So we often do it individually. We make a copy, and then we change it to a different layer. But you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I actually never know why we want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to actually undo that so we get some colors back in our life. I undid the layer merge. So let's say I want to make a copy of this. I'm going to move it somewhere else, and I want to copy it somewhere else, and I want to also copy it to a different layer. Okay, so let's do copy to layer. I could go look at it. Should I go find it up here? It's under layers, and it is this one right there. Copy objects to new layer, or you can type in copy to layer. I behaved myself that time. I selected it from the ribbon. So many of the icons look the same, right? So select the objects to copy. I'm just going to pick this one text item right there. And then it asks you to select an object on the destination layer. So you can type in the name, or I find it just easy to select an object that is on the layer that you're after. And I want to put it on the plants layer here. All right, so it made a copy of it. You can see it already. So it made a copy. It's actually right on top of the other one. So I can't see the red one anymore. Now it's asking me for the displacement. I actually want to move it over. Let's put it over here, for example. How about right there? Looks good. So it made a copy of it and it put it on a different layer. Okay, so let's copy to layer. Hopefully you guys have already discovered that. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to skip over this one. We'll go back to this one when we go back to the PowerPoint. And then last but not least is this set by layer. I can never show this one in my 60 tips in 60 minutes because it takes more than a minute to show. And yet it is super, super powerful. So let's make sure we take a look at it. All right, so should I go to model space? Let's go to model space. All right, so if you take a look at this drawing file, you will see that almost everything is gray. If I drop the layer drop down list, drop it down here or drop it down up there on the quick access toolbar. Oh, I don't like the way that looks. Let's drop it down here. Oh, okay, everything's gonna have a blue background. There must be a bunch of overrides on there. But you will see all the layers are gray, which you would never do, right? You would never do that. That would be horrible. Your CAD manager would hate that. But if everything is gray, how come I have objects that are different colors, right? I've got some that are magenta. I've got some, looks like those are blocks there that are cyan colored. What? What's up with that? Let me click on this object right here. It looks like a polyline. Let me come over to properties, and it says, sure enough, those objects are not by layer. They have a color, and they also have a line type. Oh my gosh, so many rules were broken. Those were not set to by layer. Somebody behaved badly. Bad, bad, bad. We're supposed to draw by layer. Okay, so I could easily fix those objects. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I'd just be slightly cranky. I'd be okay with it, not the end of the world. But what's up with this guy here? We have a block. Let me go take a look at that. And it says what says it's by layer? What? That's a lie. If it was by layer, wait a minute, then it would be gray. Well, you guys all know what's happening there. Here we have a block, or you might have a nested block where the objects were not by layer inside of the block. Somebody broke the rules. And now in order for me to fix that, oh my gosh, now I got some work to do. I got exploded. I got to go in. I got to change the individual objects. I am now officially cranky. So that is where this fabulous command comes into play, this set by layer command. Oh my God, I love this command. This is like the best command ever. Set by layer. And I want all of the objects. Let's just fix every darn thing. All of the objects in the drawing file. Everything is highlighted. All right, I got them all. Do you want to change by block to by layer? You betcha. Yes. Including the blocks? Absolutely. Including all those nested blocks? Absolutely. Look at my screen. How long did that take? 107 objects were changed. It took seconds to do that. It would have taken less time, except I was talking about it. Took just a few seconds. Nobody had to be killed. We don't actually condone violence, but I'm sure you would have been upset about it. Nobody had to be talked to. There was no stern talking to that had to be done. You were able to fix it very quickly, although I would still go talk to whoever did the drawing, explain to them the importance of by layer for sure. All right, set by layer. What a beautiful command. I love that command. All right, now back to the PowerPoint. There's also a beautiful command called lay del, one of my absolute favorite commands. You know what it's like to go into the purge command and try to delete layers, and it won't let you. You go out, you turn off all the other layers except for the layer that you're trying to delete. You can't find anything on that layer. Why won't you let me delete you? Why won't you let me purge you? What's up with that? You know, maybe somebody hit the space bar on that in the text command, or maybe that layer is referenced in a block definition. There's a variety of reasons why you can't delete a layer, even though it looks like it's empty, even though it looks like you should be able to purge it. And it's very frustrating. And, you know, it doesn't really slow you down. Is it really that big of a deal? Is it really that big of a problem? No, it's not. But that's not the point, right? The point is that you want to take control of your AutoCAD. You want to be the boss. I want to be the boss. I hate it when AutoCAD bosses me around. So Laydel allows you to boss AutoCAD around. You can tell AutoCAD to delete that layer regardless of the reason. Now, there's 2 layers you cannot delete. If it was a live audience, I would ask you, someone would yell them out. You can't delete 0, right? And you can't delete def points. Those guys are going to hang around, although I have heard that there are ways to get around. You can delete def points, but we're not going to talk about that today. All right, and so that's important to know. And, but for example, you know, if you had a layer that was referenced in a block definition, Laydel is so positive that we'll actually open up that block definition. It'll rip that layer out. It'll redefine that block on the fly, and then it will delete that layer. All right, now that is power. Oh yeah, just remember, where there is power, there is danger. So keep that in mind. Be careful what you ask for, okay? Very, very powerful command though, Laydel. And you'll also find that in the ribbon as well. It's a layer with a big X next to it. All right, Laydel. All right, so what else? So this one's, these guys are within the last couple of releases of AutoCAD, and in fact, how to control it is in the last release of AutoCAD from the layer settings dialog box. But let me kind of explain to you. I can try to explain it to you here. I got to show you. If I try to explain it from the PowerPoint, you're going to roll your eyes. We don't want any eye rolling going on. So let's go over to this drawing right here. So here we have a drawing, and we have some viewports, some M views, and there are Xrefs inside of these viewports. All right. Now, if I go over to the layer dialog box, and if I take a look, here's all my Xref layers. You can see all my Xref layers. And if I select all of my, I'm going to say select all, and I change the color of all of those layers, what color should we pick? Let's pick a green, some funky green color. Oh, I don't like that one. How about that one? Say okay, and I come back out. Well, it didn't change all the objects to green, right? Why not? Because some of the objects from the Xref were not set to by layer. We're kind of back to our issue before, right? That set by layer issue. Well, that's frustrating. Now, I don't really want to go back to that source drawing and start to make changes, or somebody might get mad at me. But there is a super awesome system variable, super, super, super awesome system variable that allows us to override that awful set by layer issue. All right, so if I type in Xref override and I set that to 1, watch the screen, you will see that I was able to override all those settings that are not by layer. And look at, now it played by the rules. Now everything is that kind of funky green color that I set it to. Xref override, it's, you know, it's binary. So if I set it back to 0, it goes, those things go back to not being by layer, the ones that are like that. Let me also show you, if you have the latest release of AutoCAD, if you go in the layer dialog box and you go over to this layer settings dialog, you will see an option on here. It doesn't exist previously to 2019. Treat Xref object properties as by layer. Same deal. Can you see on there, it says Xref override system variable. So that's if you're on the most recent release. You don't have to be in the most recent release to use this though. It's been in AutoCAD for a couple of few releases, okay? All right. Very, very cool tool. Xref override, right? And as mentioned, you can read, this recording is going to be available to you in case you forget, if you're not taking notes at your desk, maybe you're eating your lunch or something like that. I can make the PowerPoint available too, no problem. All right, let's move along. Let's go back over to the PowerPoint. Xref override one more time. Really powerful, super powerful if you work a lot with Xrefs. Object selection tips. All right, so we pick objects all day long. That's another thing that we do all the time. So I want to make sure that you are as efficient as possible at these other methods of selecting objects. All right, maybe you know about them, maybe you don't. People who know about them are terribly efficient. We want you to be super efficient. That's why you're here today. That's why you are participating today. All right. Let's go over to a totally different drawing. This drawing works great to show you what I'm about to show you. Now, we've all worked in other people's drawings, or we don't know what the heck they did. We need to we need to do some changes, some modifications, or maybe we need to add some more objects. Or maybe it's one of your old drawing files. You don't remember what you did in the drawing. I've had that happen as well. Let's say I need to add another polyline just like that one there. You know, I don't know what the scale factor was on that. I don't know what layer it was done on. I don't know what the deal is. I just want to add one more just like it. I want you to notice I'm on the 0 layer. Well, this is such a great tool that I feel is not used nearly enough. I'm going to select that object. I'm going to do a right click and I'm going to say add selected. So it is immediately going to put me back into the command that was used to create that command, a polyline. Look, it changed my current layer and it's going to make sure that it has all the same settings, apparently with the snap on as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just very simply just draw. I feel like that's not going to even out. That's okay. Pretend that it did. But you can see that it has the exact same properties, same line type, scale, everything is exactly the same. I didn't have to find out anything about it. I just added another object just like it. What else does that happen with dimensions? Man, I don't know anything about that dimension. I don't know if it has got overrides. I don't know. But I can do a right click. I can say add selected. And I can very quickly add another dimension with all the same style, all the same settings without even having to think about it. Same with text, same deal. Right click, selected, pick where you want it to go. And the only thing I have to answer really is the angle of the text, because I might want to write some text at a different angle, right? You could see that. So it does allow you that option, but it has the same height, same style, whatever it is, and then, you know, hello, there we go. All right, same layer, everything, exactly the same. Fabulous, saves you time. You don't have to do a reconnaissance mission and find out any information, which is really important. Now I'm going to do one other tip while I'm here in the interest of time. It has nothing to do with object selection, but it's a very valuable tip that I would normally show later, but I happen to be on the perfect screen to show this to you. So slight diversion. If you've ever been in a situation where you received a drawing from somebody where you believe the dimensions are correct, we like to believe that. Nobody would ever cheat a dimension or, you know, override a dimension, right? No, of course not. You would never do it. I know you would never do it. So we've all, however, run into situations where that exact same thing has occurred. Unfortunately, there is a fabulous tool. It used to be an Express tool, and then it grew up and became a real live AutoCAD command called dim reassoce. Now I want you to see over here on the right-hand side of the screen, there are two commands, dim reassoce, dim reassociate, two completely different commands. Dim reassoce is the one that we want, dim reassoce. Select objects. I wanted all the objects, please. I want you to check all the dimensions and let me know if they are associative, if they're correct, if they were not overridden. I'm going to say all. At that point in time, it will highlight any offending dimensions. Look, looks like there's one down here. There's one over here that somebody cheated and they overrode it. What? Bad, 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 bad. You can't see me right now and I'm doing it, shaking my finger. Off with their heads, right? So I can hit an extra enter and it will return that text to its actual value, and which was not what they intended. So somebody just basically drew the drawing incorrectly, badly. Shame on them. You can go have a chat with whoever did it and reprimand them. Take away their water cooler rights. I don't know what you're going to do. But anyway, so that's dim reassoce, very, very powerful command. All right, back to object selection. But I digress, right? Okay, so object selection. So here's another thing. When we're selecting objects that are similar in some way, and for example, this rotated dimension, man, my drafting teacher would be crying right now. Like, what? That's wrong. The text is going the wrong direction. I need to fix all of the rotated text to make sure the text is going the right dimension. I'm not going to go pick all of it. I'm lazy. I'm going to pick one of them, do a right click, and I'm going to say select similar. Hope you guys know all about select similar. That will save you a lot of time. It grabbed all of the rotated dimensions that were on the same layer. I'll tell you how I know that in just a little bit. I'll show you how I know that. All the rotated dimensions that were on the same layer. And then I can go over to properties. I can go down to text. For the rotation angle, you can see it varies. Some of the text might be right, but I know all the rotated dimension text needs to be 0. Hit 0, hit an enter, check it out. Look at that. That's all good. That was very simple, very fast, very efficient. It took me just a few seconds. Now, if I go back into select similar, you'll see that there's a settings option, and I think it's important to show this to you. I told you it would find all of the rotated dimensions. It says name here. It should say type, by the way. This is poorly named. It should say type, that were on the same layer. That's because these are both selected. If I turned the layer off, it would have grabbed all the rotated dimensions regardless of the layer. And vice versa, if I turned name off, it would have grabbed all the objects on that layer, period, regardless of what type of object it was. So you have complete control over how select similar works. You can see you can pick whichever properties you want, okay, including the type. All right, what else have I got for you? Well, the next one's kind of an interesting one. The next one actually hangs out down here on the status bar, selection cycling. There's been a variety of ways to selection cycle over the years in AutoCAD. It's down here on the status bar if you have it turned on. You can also do it with a Control W. I'm going to turn it on from the status bar. I usually do Control W, by the way. And I have a love-hate relationship with selection cycling. Sometimes I love it. And selection cycling makes it easier for you to pick objects when you have many objects close together or right on top of each other and you're having a hard time picking the one that you want. It comes in really handy, for example, if you have a hatch pattern and a boundary and you're having a hard time picking usually the hatch pattern. Well, is it usually or maybe the boundary? It just depends what kind of shot you are. So that makes it very easy for you to pick the one that you're after. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I move my cursor someplace where there's more than one object, try to look at my pick box on the screen. You will see that there are two little white rectangles filled in, not rectangles, they're squares. I was a math major. But technically a rectangle is a square, but a square is not always a rectangle. And you can see those two little squares on there, right? So that means that there's more than one object underneath the pick box. If I come over to up here, if I made my pick box a lot bigger, I'd get even more objects on there. But you can see my pick boxes right now, there must be more than one object underneath the pick box. If I select, actually let me go into the erase command. Sometimes it would come in handy with the erase command. See that? Like that. So it looks like there were 3 objects underneath the pick box. And as I move my cursor over them, I want you to see it will highlight them. Can you see that? It highlights the various objects that are underneath the pick box. So I would go to the one that I was after. Maybe I was after that block reference, and then it decided that it was going to delete that, right? Let's undo that, but nevertheless, I think you get the idea. So that's selection cycling. Control W. Control W turns it off. Control W turns it on. It's toggle, Control W. Okay, so that's selection cycling. Just thought I'd throw that one in. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is object isolation. So we are used to controlling the display of objects with layers. That's the way we've always done it, right? We've controlled the display of objects with layers, turning layers on and off, or freezing and thawing them. But you can also do it with object isolation, which I find sometimes is a lot easier than flipping those layers on and off. You would do that for editing purposes, more than likely. So I need to do some editing in here. I got too much stuff on the screen, so I'm going to select these objects here. I want everything else to get out of the way. I'll pick that Xref as well. And I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to isolate those objects. I'm going to tell it I just want the objects I selected to stay on the screen. And that's exactly what happened. Now that's still crowded. It's way too crowded for me. I need to get rid of some of those dimensions. So I'm going to grab this guy and this one and this one. I don't know. Anything you want to get rid of, and I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to click on isolate again, but this time I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say hide the objects that I selected. So I got rid of some of those dimensions that I selected. Maybe I'd pick some more if I wanted to, but nevertheless, that allows you to control, if you can't see something, you can't edit it and won't get hurt, right? And it allows you to have control over the objects on the screen that you're currently looking at, usually for editing purposes. So that's object isolation. Now, when you're done and you want to bring all the objects back, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the screen in the status bar, and this is slightly different depending on what release of AutoCAD. This is the tool for isolate objects. It's a horrible tooltip. It used to be a really good one. It used to be this little light bulb. It was very clear. It would be red. I knew what was happening. And now if you have objects isolated, it's this silly little blue circle. I don't even get it. I don't get it at all. But nevertheless, that's fine. Just so you know, that means that there's objects isolated if you can see that tiny little blue circle. You can click on that, and you'll see you can isolate more objects, or you could hide more objects, or you can end object isolation. Also, just so you know, you can also do that from the menu. There's an option for end object isolation. See, look, there's the light bulb. Why can't I get the light bulb down on the status bar? That's my question. Why did we abolish the light bulb? Are we trying to save energy? I just don't get it. Put the light bulb back. I stand for putting the light bulb back, because I don't know what the circle, a triangle, and a square stand for. It means nothing to me. Anyway, so those are all things. Now, let me ask you this. What happens when I leave AutoCAD with objects isolated and then I come back into this drawing? Will they be isolated or not? By default, if you leave a drawing file, you come back in, the objects will come back. Object isolation is over. Because you can imagine, speaking of ways to torture your coworker, which I won't be doing today, I will spare you today, even though I do think that's people's favorite part, ways to torture your coworker, which is scary. You could technically go in, you could hide everything in somebody's drawing file and freak somebody out, right? They'd be turning layers on and off. What? Where'd all my objects go? The objects are perfectly safe, but they wouldn't know that. If they leave AutoCAD and they come back in, all the objects will come back. So, you know, nobody has to have a heart attack. But you can actually override that. If you take a look on this, on the PowerPoint, there is an option, object isolation mode, a super long system variable, object isolation mode. If you set it to 1, it will persist between drawings. So that means if you leave the AutoCAD drawing and you come back in, the objects will still be hidden or isolated, if you will. So something for you to keep in mind. If you truly want to abuse somebody, you would set object isolation mode to 1. That would be cruel. You did not hear it here. Anyway, moving along. I wish I could see all of you. It's so hard to, you know, to judge what does the look on your face look like right now. Or did you go back to tune into the Kavanaugh questioning? That's what I want to know. Or did you record it? Or are you at work? You can't see it if you're at work, right? I'm sure you can. Time savers, because we all want to save time. These are trusty but true time savers that I find that, especially if you're, you know, new to AutoCAD within the last 5-10 years, you may not even know about. So let me take a look at them. I just gonna wait a second so you can look, because I like the cartoon. And I'll take a sip of my coffee. Did you hear that sip? All right, I'm gonna go back over to AutoCAD and we'll take a look at these cool time savers. Some of these people don't even know about. And I'm gonna do it in this very sophisticated drawing. This is my tips drawing. This is where I show all these wacky tips. It's all set up. So let's say you're hanging out with your AutoCAD buddies and you're doing some kind of a fun bet with them. If I wanted to lengthen all of these lines, say out to here, how would you do it? What would be the fastest way for you to do it? You'd probably say extend. You would draw a line out here, right? Temporarily, you would draw a line out here, and then you would use the extend command, correct? All right, I'm going to show you a faster way of doing it. I'm going to make sure my ortho is on, and I'll tell you why in a bit. And I'm going to go into an age-old command. It's not in any menus anywhere, but it still exists, called the change command. I'm going to select the objects that I want to make longer. And then look how easy this is. I don't need to draw any additional lines to make this happen. Just pick your point in space where you want to extend the lines to. Check that out. How many clicks was that? That saved me time. I love that. That's fabulous. Let's wait. Show me that again, Lynn. Wait, oh, great one. Show me that again. I'm going to do a P for previous, grab the same lines, because you can also use it to trim. Let's pick a point on here to trim it to. We'll also trim it. You can use object snaps. I just turned them off, so it didn't have to do midpoint, for example. All right, so that's a change command. Now, why, Lynn? Why did you turn the ortho off? Let me show you what, or ortho on. Let me show you. I'm going to turn it off. Let's go back into the change command. Oh, look at that. Did you see that? Used to be that CH did change, but it doesn't anymore. Let's do P for previous. And now I'm going to go ahead and pick a point out in space. Check that out. That's probably not what you wanted. I don't know. Maybe it is what you wanted. Probably not what you wanted. Consequently, you more than likely want to have your ortho on. All things for you to think about. All right, so that's the change command. And then when we draw an arc, AutoCAD loves to draw arcs counterclockwise. I want to go the other way, but it only wants to go counterclockwise. It's been that way since the beginning of time. hopefully somebody has told you or taught you, because it was kind of top secret, that you can hold the control key down and you can actually go the other way. It doesn't tell you, there it says, oh, it does hold control to switch direction, just so you know, hopefully. It didn't tell you that at first. They must have just added that the last little while. But hopefully you know you can hold the control key down to switch directions, which is very important. All right, what else? I want more than one hot grip. Do you guys work with grips? Grips are very, very powerful. I use grips all the time. I want to make all of these little mountain peaks taller at the same time. I don't want to do them one at a time. You can hold the shift key down. You can make more than one hot grip, and then you can lengthen them all at the same time. Hopefully you know that. And hopefully you also know that you can fillet parallel lines. Have you done that before? Let's see. Let's make this one a little shorter. Please hold. There we go. Fillet. I can't pick it from the menu. That would be so much better. You can take two lines that are parallel and you can fillet them and you will get a nice, beautiful tangent arc. I want you to note that the object you select first wins. You can see in this situation that it will shorten the other one to accommodate what just happened there, because I picked the other one first to draw that arc, right? You can see that. In this situation, let's do that again. I'm going to pick this one up here, which is longer now. You will see that it will lengthen the second one to accommodate that. So you can actually fillet between the parallel lines. That's just something in case you didn't know that. Doesn't make that very obvious that you can do that. And then what about this? I am going to erase something. Let's erase this arc over here. And then I'm going to draw some more objects. Let's turn that ortho off. Let's draw a circle. Let's draw another circle, whatever. I'm just drawing stuff. Okay. Oh, I wish I didn't erase that arc. Oh, I want my arc back. So most of us would just undo, 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 which means I would lose this, and this, all of these things here, which is sad. Or those AutoCAD veterans out there know that there's a cool command called oops. Oops will bring back the last group of objects that you erased. You can use it anytime you want. It will always bring back the last group of objects that you erased. It also works when you're making a block, incidentally. When you create a block, that last step actually deletes the objects from the block if you tell it to do that. You can also use oops on that as well. Way later, like way, way later, you can do that. And the last group of objects that you erase. Keep that in mind. Okay, oops, very, very handy. And then I think I'm going to go back over to my PowerPoint for the last one. Control R to cycle through the viewports. If you have a viewport inside of another viewport, you're trying to get inside of that viewport. It's usually a tiny viewport inside of a big viewport. You're trying to get there. You can pick it, but getting inside of it, much more challenging. Just so you know, you can do a Control R, and that will cycle through all of your viewports until you get inside of the viewport that you're after. That's a nice little tip. Control R to cycle through your viewports, right? And then here's some other cool system variables. I'm going to show you p-edit accept and empty jig string. While I'm here, tray notify. We all get those little messages, those little bubbles in the lower right-hand corner. If you're tired of the bubbles, you can set tray notify to 0. It will no longer give you the little bubble information. If you know all and you don't need them anymore, by all means, feel free that you can turn them off. All right, let's go take a look at the other system variables. We'll go back to that highly technical. Ooh, it didn't like that. Did you see that? All right, we'll go somewhere else then. Fine. It did not like it when I tried to go back to that particular drawing file. Fine. What else have I got? So this is a line. Got it? I'm going to go into the p-edit command, and I'm going to polyline editing command, and I'm going to select this line. And we all know what happens when you select a line and you go into p-edit. You get this message. Object selected is not a polyline. Do you want to turn it into one? Oh, so annoying. Of course I do. I'm a highly intelligent individual. I went into the p-edit command for a reason. Don't ask me that question. And incidentally, if you say no, it just kicks you out of the command anyway. All right, I'm hit escape. I'm not going to do anything. Hit escape. See, it didn't like that. All right, so there's a system variable called p-edit accept, which is going to make your life so much better. Set p-edit accept to 1. It will never ask you that question again. So let's go back into p-edit. You try it one more time. Pick it, Look at, it didn't ask me the question. It just assumed I wanted to turn it into a polyline, and it went on its merry way. It's a fabulous, fabulous, beautiful thing. I will warn you that we're pre-programmed to hit an extra enter to get past that question, which now will actually kick you out of the Pieta command. So you do have to readjust your strategy. But nevertheless, it will never ask you that question again. I love that. And what else while I'm here? If I go into text, let's get out of there. Text. You will see that I have set my text string to DVS-CAD because I love them, because they're my favorite. Now, you probably have it set to ABC. Snore, how boring is that? You can control the sample text for when you go into mtext. And why wouldn't you? You certainly should do that, right? So how do you do that? There's a system variable called mtjigstring, and you can set it to anything you want. Let's set it to, well, we'll set it to AutoCAD. Ooh, I have my cap lock on. Now if I go into text, you'll see, you set it to whatever you want, your dog's name, you know, your company name. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. Your girlfriend's name, whatever. You pick what you want. mtjigstring. And then while I'm here, I also want to show you the best way to work with system variables. There's a zillion of them inside of AutoCAD. If you have full-fledged AutoCAD, you have the awesome Express tools. I could spend all day on Express tools. In fact, I should just do an entire webinar on Express tools because they're the most beautiful thing ever. And there is one called, I can't say it, Dialog. It's a system variable dialog box. And I'm going to go in here. So this is the best way to work with system variables. Because every single one of these you can see in here tells you, like, I was obviously looking at PickBox. It tells you the current value. It tells you the initial value. It tells you where it's saved. Is it saved in the drawing file? So if you modify it, it will only affect the existing drawing file, or is it saved in the registry? It'll affect all drawing files. And then it gives you information in here. Look at this. When PickBox is set to 0, selection previewing of objects is not available. What? That's kind of important. Good to know that, right? So let me get rid of that. So now it's going to show me all the system variables. So in here, all the system variables, it tells you all the defaults. It tells you everything you need to know about the system variables, which I think is very, very important. Right, now, I'm going to, for example, let's go to mtjigstring. Actually, if you can use wildcards in here, if you guys remember any of your wildcards, it accepts wildcards. It does not automatically go to, once I start typing, it doesn't do autofill, which is too bad. You can see on here, I changed it to AutoCAD. The initial value is ABC. It's stored in the registry. It's going to affect every drawing file and blah, blah, blah. Now, this is incredibly important in here. Let me go back in. Oh, actually, let me go back in and just delete that so we have all of them in here. There's an option here where you can do a save all. This will save all of your system variables to a file. Once again, you want to put this in a directory that you can get to easily, that you can remember where you put it. And you can see in here, it's saving it to my Dropbox, to AutoCAD 2009 for some reason. That must have been the last directory. I was probably looking for a sheet set or something like that. But you're going to put it someplace where you can find it. It will store all of your system variables in a file so that if things go wrong, because you like your system variables set up differently than the way I like my system variables set up, you could go to all the trouble to get them the way you want. You want to be able to get them back easily because things happen. We know it. We have to reload AutoCAD. We got to reset everything. You need to be able to set those system variables very, very easily. Save all. You come back in here, you click on read, right? You're going to grab that file. You're going to open it. It's going to reset everything the way you like it to be. It's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be fabulous, all right? So I just want to show that to you. It looks like I'm kind of running out of time. What have I got coming up? So I think it'll take too long to do that. What do I want to leave you with? Let's make it simple. I'll come back and do the others. They can have me come back. Let's do dimensioning because everybody does dimensioning, and I just want to make sure you guys are using the awesome, 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 very low stress, smart dimensioning that came out a few releases ago, because I find most people are still doing dimensioning the old-fashioned way. I need you to use this new awesome, awesome dimensioning, and then I'll be quiet. All right. We'll wrap up with this just because it is so awesome. It's going to save you lots of time. All right. I'm all about time. I'll do it in here. So there was a tool that was added into AutoCAD a few releases ago. This beautiful, look, it's got a little sunshine. I don't really know what that's, a little sunshine tool. It's a one-stop dimensioning tool. That's going to allow you to knock out a whole bunch of dimensions at one time. You can still do it the old way, right? This is what you guys are probably doing. Don't do it. Just say no to that. Try this new tool because it's so beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this new tool. I'm going to show you how easy this is. I want you to look at the command line. I want you to see that you're now in this dim mode. It's all about dimensioning now. We're not really at the command line anymore. Now we're in this dimension mode. And all I have to do is move my cursor over an object and pick where I want it to go. I'd like it to go there. Let's zoom up. I'm just going to dimension a bunch of wacky things, right? Upset my drafting teacher terribly. Oh, you just pick the object and pick where you want the dimension go. I'm not really sure you can make it any easier than that. How about the spiral staircase? I want to dimension that, please. I want to dimension the inner circle. Oh, I don't want diameter. I want radius. No problem. Let me go down here, click on radius. Easy, easy, easy. How much easier could it possibly get? Super easy. Oh, I don't want to do linear. I want to do angular. No problem. Let's pick two objects that are not parallel, right? Like that. And it goes, oh, you must want to do angular. Look, I can do whichever angle I want. Let's do this one. Oh, I love it. So easy. Promise. Look, I'm still in dim mode. I haven't had to hit any enters. I just keep picking and just clicking away. Dimension, dimension, dimension. What else can I do? I'm going to dimension this guy. Check this out. I'm going to pick right on top of this object. Now my drafting teacher is really upset. What? Take a look at the command line. How do you want it to handle overlapping dimensions? What do I want it to do? Let's start with move away. Okay, so it moved. So the one I just placed one, the other one got moved away. Get out of the way. Let's try this again. Let's grab this guy here. Let's do it again. Put it right on top of the other one. Now what am I going to do this time? Replace makes sense, right? So it's going to replace the whole darn dimension with that one. I don't want to do that. None. Really upset my drafting teacher. Let's try break up. Check that out. Oh, now it's a continued dimension. I just put it right in the middle of that dimension. How awesome was that? Easy, easy, easy. So once again, I still have not left dim mode. Now I want you to notice that there's an undo option in dim mode. This will undo the last dimension that I did while I'm in dim mode. All right, I'm going to exit dim mode. How do you get out of dim mode? Escape or an extra enter to get out. Now I am back at the command line, but I want to warn you, that was all considered one great big huge command. When you're in dim mode, it's one great big huge command. So guess what? If I do, watch all those dimensions. If I do an undo now, okay, one more. I zoomed out. You will see that it undid all those dimensions. All my hard work is done. All right, so keep that in mind. If you try to undo after you leave dim mode, it will undo all the dimensions that you did. I mean, no problem. You can redo. You can bring them back, but just keep that in mind. We all learned that one the hard way. It's considered like one big dim mode. If you've used AutoCAD for a long time, you remember the old dim mode worked the same way. Worked absolutely the same way. So keep that in mind. So on that note, we have just a few minutes before the top of the hour. I'm going to go back over to my PowerPoint. And I'm sorry I didn't get through everything. I'll have to come back and do some more. Believe me, I can do hours and hours of tips. Hours and hours. Plenty. Before I switch over, I just want you, feel free. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to contact me. Follow me on Twitter if you want to. And I have like hundreds of videos up on Cadalyst.com that also have a bunch of video tips. If in your spare time, you can't get it. If you didn't get enough of me today, you can watch those video tips. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Raquel. She'll come back and she'll wrap the session up.
All right. Thank you so much, Lynn. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't she great? You are receiving a lot of love from everywhere. All the attendees from US, people in Brazil, in Canada.
Wow.
It's so nice to hear from you. So you're so fantastic. So you're so good that we don't have no questions.
Oh, no questions at all.
No questions.
Just nice things.
Lots of love.
Look at all
Lots
those
of love.
nice.
There was one of the attendees that was asking about a command, but then he figured it out. So he is all good. I just want to thank you so much, Lynn, for that fantastic and fun presentation. I hope everybody got benefit from this presentation. I wanted to mention that if you have any other questions about AutoCAD, if you have any need for AutoCAD classes, we're a training center. We have classes for AutoCAD all the time. And also, I don't want to let you go without knowing that there is an opportunity for AutoCAD if you have LT and you want to get full AutoCAD. There is a promotion for that. If you have an AutoCAD and you want to get the benefits of having AutoCAD with other programs inside a collection, there is a promotion for that. All of these opportunities are ending in October. For more details, contact us at 305-445-6480 or email us. There's a little more detail in the screen about the promotions. I don't want to get too much into that because this was a fun presentation about tips and tricks, but I'm sure you've read it all already. So again, if you have an LT and it's coming up for renewal, you can get a full AutoCAD for a discounted price. And if you have an AutoCAD or any other individual program, you can get a collection also at discounted price. So again, thank you so much, Lynn, for a fun presentation. I'm sure that everybody learned a lot. I don't know AutoCAD and I learned a lot. So it's been fun. Thank you everybody for attending, and everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.